This is TVC News Politics on Sunday. We're live in Abuja, the nation's capital. Good evening, and thank you for joining us on the program today. I am Femi Akonde. Well, on the show tonight, we'll tell you the back and forth over the new tax reform bills. That has not been laid to rest yet. There are more concerns greeting this bill, and the federal government insists the bill will change the economic landscape of the country. As it stands, the Board of Trustees of the Northern Elders Forum, after its second biannual meeting in Abuja, chaired by Professor Ango Abdullahi, endorsed the position of the Northern Governors Forum and the Northern Traditional Rulers on President Bola Tinubu's tax reform bills, which is currently at the National Assembly. The forum says the forum unanimously endorsed the patriotic stand taken, or what they say is the patriotic stand taken by the Northern Governors on the raging national debate about the bills. Well, all of this is what we'll try to put into perspective today, and my guest on the program is a lawmaker from Northern Nigeria, Kano State, to be precise. He is Honorable Abdulmumin Jibrin. Welcome to the program, and thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much, Femi.
We have seen this raging controversy over the proposed tax reform bills. You know, when President Bola Tinubu introduced these bills and we saw the committee inaugurated, there was a lot of excitement, and everyone thought that this excitement will be widespread. But we are getting some pushbacks from the north. Why is this? Why is this so?
I will prefer not to call it a pushback, as I have continued to say since I made my position known. I will rather say that some people rushed to a conclusion without actually reading the bill. And what we have tried to do in the last couple of days, a couple of weeks, is to get people to actually read the bill, dissect the bill. If you have any clause or any part of the bill that you do not understand, you should seek for clarification. I believe that a lot of people that actually took position in a hasty manner on the bill haven't really read it. I will tell you this, that a lot of people that we've started to have conversation with and to explain to them, particularly the areas that they felt termed controversial, I haven't seen one person that hasn't been convinced. So I believe that even those who hold strong opinion against the bill in its entirety or in a segmented manner in the next couple of days, by the time they see the facts clearly spelled out, they will come to understand.
The Nigeria Governors Forum and indeed the National Economic Council were briefed by the chairman of the Presidential Fiscal and Policy Tax Reform Committee. Yes. And, you know, it's kind of surprising when they came out with that position, advising President Bola Tinubu to withdraw the bill. So when you say a lot of people taking a position on the bill have not really read the bill, but a lot of them have listened to Mr. Taiwo Oyedele talk about this bill, and that's why they have been able to come out with this position, advising the president to withdraw the bill because they see it as against certain interests or not in the interest of maybe the northern economy.
Well, I will say on this, we rather should focus on what is going to happen to the bill. Yes, there was a meeting, yes, there was a communique, and I think specifically at the previous meetings of the National Economic Council, the resolution was that it should be withdrawn for further consultation. And if you look at how the legislature works, I think if there was a lawmaker there, serving lawmaker, he would have enlightened the governors or the National Economic Council that once the bill is in the National Assembly, there's also a provision in our system, in our procedure for consultation, And that is when the bill goes to public hearing. So the governors will come and make their position, the presidency will make their position, civil society will make their position, social, cultural organizations will all make their position. And I believe that at that point, we, the lawmakers, will sit down and do a thorough job, look at the bill, look at the merit, the demerit. Where we need to sit down and have a negotiation, we sit and have a negotiation. Where we need to agree, we agree. Where we need to disagree, we disagree. And I keep telling even my colleagues in the National Assembly that these are the kind of people, for me as a person, this is the kind of intensity that we want to see in the parliament. And you even tend to learn from people who disagree. But at the end of the day, those who have the majority of the opinion, the majority supporting whatever clause is there in the bill will take the day. But let me also add at this point, talking about the northern part of the country, and I have said, I really would have, if I have my power, if I have the power, overall power, I will try to pull down that narrative because it is not helping us in the northern part of the country.
So those people taking this position do not speak for the north.
Let me make this point. I will come to that. I don't shy away from questions. It doesn't help us to give an impression that everything looks confrontational when there are all issues that can be resolved specifically so that we can save time. What are the concerns of those two groups in the north that brought out a statement? Even though there was a National Economic Council meeting a few days ago, there was governors forum,
and they were silent on that.
And the tune was a bit different. Particularly the progressive governors came out to say they are going to now reach out to the National Assembly and have a discussion and dialogue, which was what we kept saying, which was what I said, the first statement that I made publicly, and that was very, very commendable. But you see, these areas, what are the areas of concern? One, they're talking about the derivation of
the distribution of the value-added tax.
The distribution of the value-added tax. The second major point that you talk about is development levy. Now, these are two key issues. But you see, you need to look at these issues from the context of how it emanated. One, and this is what I keep telling my colleagues, both in the National Assembly and, of course, the northern part of the country. Some people paint me and say, oh, no, he is anti-North. I say, no, I can never be anti-North. I love the North so much. I'm from the northern part of the country. I'm from Kano. And I keep saying this, quote me, that the north is the wealthiest part of Nigeria. The only thing is that we have failed to optimize our potential. We have everything. We have the population, we have the land, we have the mineral resources, we have everything to make all our states very viable. Now, two states went to court. Specifically, River State got judgment on VAT. That VAT is a residual item, and so it should be administered by the state. That is danger number one. Now, assuming the federal government in the 9 days of the Buhari administration decided to implement that judgment, or the current president at the beginning of his term decide to implement that judgment, nobody would have blamed him. So I'm not trying to defend the president. Nobody, we should look at issues very clearly. Nobody would have blamed him. They would have said, oh, a state went to court, and the federal government would be compelled to do that. So that was the beginning of the crisis. In any case, there's always been issues around the VAT and who should legislate, because it's not in the exclusive list, it is not in the concurrent list, it falls within the residual list. The second thing that happened was that even myself as chairman of finance, I was former chairman of the House. So when I talk, I'm not talking just for talking's sake. I'm talking based on facts. I've done this work. I've oversighted federal inland revenue for 4 years. I was chairman of appropriations in the House. So I understand these issues very clearly. Now, the second key issue is the contention about VAT being consumed in a particular, the products being consumed in a particular place, why the collection is being recorded in the headquarters of the companies that own those products. I tell you this, myself and a lot of Northerners, we've been against that headquarters system. We fought against it. We said we do not want it. Everybody kept fighting about it. But as soon as the bill comes in, The bill addressed one major contention issue, which is the issue of the headquarters system. Then the bill said, okay, please, let's resolve it. Don't forget, there is a subsisting court judgment. Now they were proceeding to a Supreme Court because the appeal court has affirmed that state government should legislate over VAT.
Yeah.
Yes. So now this bill now said, okay, let's resolve that. And I'm pretty sure the bill is coming and being pushed in a bit of a hasty manner so that it can preempt the court judgment, because if they go to Supreme Court and get the judgment, all this talk that we are talking about, in fact, completely will go to ground zero. So the bill is trying to even protect the North from a calamity.
So I
will arrive. I need to lay this template so that a lot of people that hold the kind of my opinion and position should feel free in the North and enlighten our people. I have been talking, and also I'm convinced about something. I'm not afraid about saying it. So that provision now, having recognized that consumption will be recorded at destination, it now said wherever that happens, they return, whichever state that raises it, they return 60%. So that scares. And some people went to market shouting all over that, the entire resource. But that is a wrong notion. Why? Because both northern state and southern, a lot of southern states also have low consumption. So it is also going to affect them. You know the interesting thing? And a lot of those that I speak to, they get very surprised about this. The lowest in consumption is not even a northern state. It's Cross River and Imo. Now, since we found ourselves in this situation, what did we say? I now came out, I spoke. I said, look, the best thing for us is to negotiate. It is no sacrosanct. The development levy, everything, which I understand why it was done. I think because of this conversation, we're going to discuss about that. But essentially, the one that is born in the fire is the derivation. So you can negotiate it downward. We are now, it's a double-edged sword. For instance, now, if you throw away the bill and then they go to Supreme Court and they get a judgment, we're going to lose everything. Don't forget, some of even these government agents, commissions, like the Northeast Development Commission and some of them, all have been funded from VAT. If you go to court and you get that judgment, we will lose the whole of that. And you know the interesting thing? We can sit down and agree, reduce the number, because the conversation will not die. One of the things that we've seen in this country over time is that there are certain conversations that are critical to the unity of this country. Once it starts, it will never go down. That is why today you see the Northwest Development Commission was established, because the conversation that came up and they have to negotiate, and we got it. That's why you see the Niger Delta Development Commission. That's why you see the Northeast Development Commission. That's why you see the 13% derivation. So that matter will never go down. So the best approach for us is to sit down, and I will tell you this in all sincerity. Quote me. I'm on national or international TV. I do not see a clause there that is outrightly harmful within the entire ecosystem of our financial position in this country to the northern part of
So now the question is, this whole controversy, is it a lack of understanding or it's politics?
Well, I hold our governors in high esteem. I hold our northern leaders in high esteem. And I don't want to say something that will create like a crisis situation. But there are some that would have done it with every sense of honesty. And probably what they needed was further research and explanation. But I also believe that a bit of politics came into it, not only from the northern part of the country, but also from the southern part of the country. And also even internally within the APC, because I can also tell you that because we're having conversation at the level of the National Assembly. But I also believe that we will do our work. The bill will be negotiated and it will be passed. But again, it surprises you. You will see even senior members of the APC within the National Assembly. They will approach you and you will tell them, look, what is the issue? put the facts. Let's see it. What are the issues? What is it? Now, if you talk about even states that have low consumption, the gentlemen that put together this bill, they weren't sleeping. They also know maybe you will have a situation where some states will not be able to get what they are getting, but it is not limited to only the North. There are also southern states. That's why I started with the conversation that I hate the idea that some people succeeded in making it look like the North is fighting. So an equalization fund was created. And that equalization fund, the purpose of that equalization fund is that by the time this new regime comes into force and you share the VAT, and you do the running average and see that some of the states are not getting what they are supposed to, particularly those with the low consumption, before they are able to open up their economy and increase it, because it will encourage competition. Everybody will like to also improve what he has. That is also the silent advantage. They will go into the equalization fund, mop out some resources, and augment the resources of some of the states that are not able to meet up. Look, I tell you this. The 4 or 5 highest earners, at the end of the day, probably will be the losers. Lagos, the headquarters system
according to Zach Adedeji, Lagos alone takes 42% of the VAT, while Rivers takes about 16%, or your 5.2%, and the FCT 10%. I said these 3 states take more than 70% of VAT, because headquarters of service providers and most of these are big blue chip organizations are situated there. But consumption does not accrue. 70% of consumption does not accrue from these 3 states.
Absolutely. So they will.
So it's unfair. It's not equity.
So it is not equity, and that is why we are saying that the intention of the bill is to create equity. Is to take from those who are even getting more and give to those who are not getting as much as that. So completely, it wasn't understood initially. But I also believe that some elements decided to play politics with it, and unfortunately, they got to the market before us. But the worrisome part of it is that the core, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to prognose into a party that I have no, but I believe it is a responsibility of the legislatures from that party, ministers from that party, head of MDAs from that party. They all have them everywhere. And this bill is available. Read it. It's in black and white. It's simple English. What you do not understand, you will understand it. You don't push it to the chairman of Federal Inland whom I have described as very courageous.
So you think members of the APC are not doing enough?
Let me tell you something very interesting.
In pushing this bill.
Let me tell you something very interesting. One of the interesting things about this thing is that, in fact, over 90% of the provisions of these bills are things that we've continued to push over the years. As chairman of finance, we pushed for a lot of these provisions, particularly the single window tax and levy collection. And he's been able to do this. He's been able to put the bills. A lot of laws that are obsolete, double taxation, tax administration, a lot of issues, fiscal, whatsoever you have, and the rest. Beautiful things that have been introduced into the bill, and nobody is talking about it. Nobody is talking about the fact that the bill says zero VAT for food, zero VAT for education, zero VAT for health, and even created a latitude for even those who are renting. You can apply and get an exemption from VAT. 97% of SMEs, their products will not be charged VAT. So it's a pro-tax.
And it does not seek to increase it.
Yeah, I sleep every night and I have sleepless night. What sort of country is this? What kind of country, for goodness sake, what kind of country is this?
Well, you said
now, the issue is that, let me also add, no any bill in the National Assembly that has ever passed the National Assembly without meeting some form of amendment, some form of panabitting, and the rest. So don't make it a war situation. After all, it's going to pass through the processes. The amount, the percentage for this will be negotiated.
Let me cut
everything we looked into.
Let me cut it.
So what is the problem?
You said something that that I found quite interesting. The members of the All Progressives Congress are not taking ownership of this bill. It's the administration. So it's as if President Bola Tinubu Taiwo Yedele and Zaka Dideji are just those we see in front pushing this bill.
Yes, I said so.
Is that a problem?
But of course, it's a problem. And in fact, it just yes, 2 days ago, Friday, was it Thursday, I was having a conversation with one of the champions, of course, in the House, Jimmy Benson, doing a lot in terms of the passage of this bill. I was having a conversation with him that where are members of your party? It is not only when they're looking for board appointments or when they're looking for MDAs or when they're trying to make ministers, then everybody comes saying, Mr. President, we are there, Mr. President, we are there. Look, if I am the president, I will judge loyalty by when there is a tough battle to be fought. Everybody needs to be on the table. Most especially that all that this bill needs is explanation. You have the numbers everywhere, so you explain. You don't play politics with stuff like this, and you don't go back. Even some of them was even sponsoring a campaign of calumny against people like us that are talking. I'm not saying it because it is the bill of the president. I'm saying this thing because I know in black and white that it's a bill that is good for our country.
All right, I will take a quick break at this point. While we return, we'll continue with the conversation on President Bola Tinubu's tax reform bills pushing against the odds. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
Advocate and a published author.
I am the founder of Celebration, a businesswoman, and a fashion icon.
I am a wealth coach and a real estate developer. I am Amaka Rakwe. I'm a corporate commercial lawyer and an entrepreneur.
Welcome to our hacker. I am Ramatu Shehu Oyibo, an entrepreneur and a business coach.
I am the voice of an average Muslim woman, an hijabite, and a lawyer.
I am a polymath and a serial entrepreneur.
I am Murayo Afolabi Brown, Managing Director, TVC Entertainment. I'm a media consultant, producer, and broadcaster.
The ladies of your view are made of women from different professions, tribes, cultures, and religion. Join us every Monday to Friday as we share our views on topical and social issues.
As the bastion of democracy, it is a place where bills are presented, motions debated, laws made, and the yearnings of the people are laid bare. Come with us as we take you through the workings of the National Assembly. We take you through plenary, committee meetings, and probes, all to ensure smooth working of the democratic process.
Yeah, we're still talking about the tax reform bills pushing against the odds, and the battle now goes to the floor of the National Assembly. Before the break, Honorable Abdulmumin Jibrin was telling me about, what appears to be the lack of interest from members of the All Progressives Congress, to push policies of government, especially this tax reform bill. He's of the New Nigeria People's Party, leading the charge, speaking in favor of this bill. People are beginning to also say that the state governors who some of them have taken a position against the bill are piling pressure on the federal lawmakers to ensure that this bill is dead on arrival, like one of the lawmakers said.
I've actually said that it's my senior brother who made that comment, but I also said the bill is not dead on arrival because we have our procedure in the National Assembly, the first reading and the second reading, the public hearing where everybody will be involved, everybody will be carried along, all stakeholders will be recognized and they will make their presentation. After that, the committee on the National Assembly will sift through it and put in a report. So I believe that the bill is not dead on arrival.
What pressure from governors?
Well, the aspect of the pressure from the governors, I've actually said it. Of course, you will hear rumor, but I have not actually confirmed it, that some governors are giving instruction to their members and the rest. But again, essentially, it boils down to how the National Assembly works. And the processes of the National Assembly will go on. And what I keep saying, of course, I've attended a couple of caucuses within the week since this thing started in the National Assembly, and where I've had people mention that the governor that said, for whatever issues that they say a governor has a strong negative opinion on, what I've always advised is that, not a blanket, because usually the messages that comes is that, okay, don't do it. I said, no, give us fact, because I also want to be educated. Don't just say, my governor say I should not pass a bill. For goodness sake, you are a lawmaker, especially when I hear words like this from fifth-term member, fourth-term members. You come to the National Assembly, you're national, essentially you're supposed to work with the president.
But will you blame them?
Yeah. No. Sometimes somebody needs to remind you who you are, even though it's unpleasant.
But don't forget also that a lot of them, or for some of them, the governors were instrumental to their victory at the polls, and that's why they owe their loyalty and all to the governors.
Well, I know that governors are very influential. I respect governors, quote me. I respect them. They are the leaders at the level of the state. The subnational is very, very strong. But I also believe that, particularly for those members of the ruling party, I do not believe that a president like the current president, that you work with him for the good of the country and will allow you, or will throw you, will ride off, will throw you under the box. He will not throw you under the box. These are some of the things that I believe that the lawmakers should also understand. But you see, something that is interesting, I don't even want us to take it from that angle. It is not a battle. All we are trying to say is that everybody respects everybody. The governors have their state assembly, they're working with them. Why we are sent to the National Assembly is to work with other members of the National Assembly, with the president of the country. Yeah. So we need to understand this a bit of line, even though we are representing constituencies from the state. But I was just about making a point before you raised this thing. Yeah. I had like a shock in my spine 2 days ago. And you see, I was vindicated even before we get to a particular point. God forbid. On Thursday, I was seated, or is it Friday? I just saw breaking news. The Supreme Court passed a judgment on the national lottery. And they said it is a residual matter. You can imagine the shock it's created. And you know the interesting thing? As if some people do not understand the implication. Now, the next thing, God forbid, it will be VAT. And this is what I keep trying to explain to our people in the northern part of the country, and even some in the southern part of the country that do not support this. That, believe me, this bill is in the interest of the country. There are contentious clauses, 1, 2, or 3 of that, and nobody has said, the people who brought the bill, they are not saying that this is cast in a stone. They're saying, okay, let's go and negotiate it. So if 60 is too much, we can look at what is a sizable number. And I believe that what we are going to do, no any region will be treated badly. No any state will be treated badly. We'll find a middle ground for everything so that everybody leaves the table happy. And you see, if we lose this opportunity, I tell you this, I came into the system as a young man. I've worked with so many chairmen of federal inland revenue. Believe me, when I started having this conversation with the chairman, when I knew they were meeting the idea, I told him, I said, can you do this? He said, I will do it, even if I'm going to put my job at risk. You will not understand the courage it takes for someone to come up with this after years.
I listened to the chairman of that committee, Taiwo Udele. He said, if this bill fails, then he will give up on Nigeria.
It's not, for goodness sake, it's not a bad bill. It's not. It's not.
But you know, people say why it appears governors are opposed to it is it's not as if they do not know the merit of these, but they want to take their own pound of flesh from President Bola Tinubu because of the issue of the local government autonomy. So it's now like we don't care if it's in the interest of the country, but we will get back at Mr. President.
Femi, I don't know about that, and I don't want to talk about that. You know, you yourself,
you are trying to be politically correct.
You mentioned that you haven't seen me for a while, so I'm trying to run away from trouble as much as I can. But I also believe that there will be a meeting the point, and I also believe that the president is good in lobbying. I'm pretty sure that he'll put in a word across, and we'll get there. Now look at an expansion of the misconception that we are talking about. I had a conversation with a couple of people from the southeastern part of the country, and they spoke about consumption of alcohol. Oh, why are we consuming so much alcohol here, and it's being paid in the headquarters and this and that? And I said to them, this new bill is stopping the headquarters system. But you know the even most important thing? They do not even understand that in the total VAT collection, alcohol constitute only 2%. 2%. I was talking to a caucus in the National Assembly on Wednesday, and they were surprised when I told them that it contributed only 2%. When you list out the big donors to the VAT, you're talking about the MTN, the Dangote, the BUA, all the rest, all down. Alcohol is at the bottom. So people don't even go down to research and see the fact. So you find yourself in a situation, maybe you use a gun and shoot your food.
But how does the consumption derivation now favor the northern part of Nigeria, especially with its population?
Okay, that's fine. Now, when you go back to consumption, it means that whatever you consume, I have seen an analogy, somebody saying you produce millions of tons of maize from Kaduna. They were circulating it on WhatsApp. Then a company comes from Lagos or Ogun, buys it, turns it to flour, then brings it back to Kaduna and sell, and VAT is being charged and being credited to Ogun or to Lagos. I now said to them that millions of tons of maize that you produce this time around, that will go to Lagos or produce, brought in as flour, consumed in Kaduna, the money will be credited to Kaduna. 60% of the money will be applied to derivation, but depending on what we negotiate. Now, I would rather say, because you said part of the note that are impoverished. If you go back to my initial comment, I told you that there are states in the southern part of the country that has low consumption. There are states in the north. So these are all part of the wider confusion or lack of enlightenment that people do not understand. I was even giving you specifics that Cross River has the lowest, followed by Imo. So the state that even has the lowest is not even in the northern part of the country. So every state, whatever you consume will be credited to you, and 60% of the derivation will be applied. Of course, 40% will still go back to the pool. But again, because that has become the major controversy, we all agree that let's sit down and have a conversation where that percentage should be reduced to the barrel that can be reduced. But don't also forget, there is the equalization fund. You can also negotiate and increase the percentage of the equalization fund. And the purpose of the equalization fund is to also support those states that are. But you see, if you take the aggregate of the advantage of this bill, if you take the aggregate of the advantage of this bill, it surpasses whatever you are going to gain or lose from that derivation. In any case, there is no loss.
Even the critics of the bill have not really been able to point out exactly what the disadvantages are.
Absolutely.
But what they are saying is that the consultations were not wide enough. Even the National Economic Council advised President Bola Tinubu to withdraw it to allow for more consultation and to build consensus. We know that this committee met with the National Economic Council, the Nigeria Governors Forum, civil society. Just last week, they were at a public hearing in the House of Representatives. But how wide enough should this consultation be? Because some group or certain groups in the country still feel left out, and that's why we're hearing we're seeing this kind of resistance?
Let me tell you, if you want to cook, if you want to cook a bill, nobody cooks a bill by just going around doing a consultation, because opinions are quite divergent. The bill will never come to life. But the makers of our constitution, and of course the rules of the National Assembly, also understands that. That is why they provided an avenue for the public hearing. So putting together the bill isn't an easy job, but there is also room for the whole of that consultation so that everybody's opinion will be carried along and the bill will be panabated to suit the opinion of everyone, to make the bill as effective and efficient as
Or is it that they don't see the National Assembly as representative enough?
I don't think so. But of course, you understand our democracy. There's different places where power resides, and the rest, you will always, the governors will always want to exercise that and show their strength and their power, which is all okay. But I believe that nothing has gone very, very bad. Unfortunately, perception has run deep down into the northern part of the country, and of course, some of us might be at the receiving end, but I've never bothered. All my life, I've never wanted to be liked. What is most important, and I keep encouraging people in public service, is that you should seek to do the right thing.
The right thing.
Time will always tell, and I'm so confident that even people who criticize me today, tomorrow they will see these things. They will see competition in another part of the country, the kind of north that we want to see. We will work hard. We will open up our economy. We'll be able to consume even more and be able to earn more from that.
We'll take another quick break, and that'll be the last break before we end the program. Honorable Abdulmumin Jibrin will join us after the break to continue this conversation. Stay with us.
Life is politics. In Nigeria, almost every part of our lives is touched by the politics we play. Governance, legislative matters, the economy, security, foreign affairs, internal affairs. Have a feel as strategic plays in the political space determine how we live in Nigeria. The players, the drama, chess piece moves. Be kept informed. Watch analysis of major happenings in the political space and how it affects you. Watch Politics on Sunday.
Voted as the best TV station of the year, TVC News breaks into the core of every event as they happen. Following all nationwide big and impactful stories, without the news from every perspective, covering every human angle. I am Veronica, bringing you the news you would want to watch.
Welcome back. We're still talking about President Bola Tinubu's tax reform bills that is now in the National Assembly. And of course, I've been speaking with Honorable Abdulmumin Jibrin, representing Keru Bebeji Federal Constituency of Kano State. The tax reform is not the only reform introduced by President Bola Tinubu's administration. We have also seen far-reaching economic reforms, but these reforms have also gotten the president's administration some criticism from different quarters. Some people say, these reforms are not working the way it should, and I've even asked the president to immediately reverse the reforms.
Well, I think essentially that everybody will understand that two key the economic reforms, the removal of subsidy, and of course the abolishment of the parallel exchange rate. Of course, everybody understands it's brought a couple of hardship in the country. But you see, because we're quite running out of time, I will take the subsidy for example. we are all proponents of subsidy. And what I don't like in my life is cowardice. Almost all the presidential aspirants or candidates were pro-subsidy. A lot of the civil society were pro-subsidy. A lot of stakeholders were all pro-subsidy. But I think where we all probably got it wrong was that as educated as we are, as knowledgeable as we are, we were not able to get the extent of the impact of removal of subsidy on the populace with precision. We couldn't. I think we underestimated it. So in the case of the president, he's already in the middle. So it's a matter of choice to either pull back and to proceed. And what I see from far, what the president has decided to do, he's decided to say, okay,
the hard way
for your tomorrow, I will give my today. I don't mind to be unpopular today. I don't mind whatever happens, but I have already taken this path. You could have another president who may decide to say, okay, I want to pull back. Does that solve the issue? It doesn't. But you see, with the benefit of hindsight, maybe personally, somebody would have said, oh, okay, if I know that this is how adverse the consequences are, you would rather, okay, just say, let me clean up the subsidy. The bill, as the last time, was about 7 or 8 trillion. Well, of course, I have done a subsidy bill so many times in the National Assembly and the rest. So I understand. Off the head, I can tell you that the actual bill shouldn't go more than 2 trillion or thereabouts. Now you will see 50 million liters consumed. How can you consume 50 liters? Maybe an average of 20 million liters or thereabout. So you see, all these things would have been cleaned and you would have had a proper subsidy. Because subsidy itself is not bad. But he's taking the choice. He's taking, you know, he's a very, very courageous man. He's taking the hard way. Nobody is saying that removal of subsidy will ultimately not give the result. But the problem is the pain that people will have to endure before we get to the
for
the
how
promise.
long?
For how long we are going to endure that pain. But I am even more interested. I'm actually more interested. That's the point I'm trying to make. At the hypocrisy. It's hypocritical for us to all just sit down and pretend and try to leave the president alone hanging and say, oh, we never believed in subsidy. It's a lie. We all promoted, we all said we are going to remove it. So, and he did it today, and we should be courageous enough to be able to stand to say, oh yes, we actually believed in subsidy.
Well, maybe for others, the approach could have or would have been different.
Oh, well, that is why I said it's a matter of decision making, your approach, how you go about things and the rest. But I think what is core in the entire conversation about the subsidy is that we all underestimated the extent of the impact of the removal. We could not measure it with precision.
And the response was not also commensurate with the reality on ground.
The response as in?
The government's response, in trying to cushion the hardship caused by the removal of this subsidy was not really commensurate with the reality on ground.
Well, I don't want this session to appear as if I'm holding a brief for the president. But I think in policy formulation and implementation, it's a very, very tough process. Once you have the conversation with your team, you work on the policy, you formulate the policy, you agree on all the stages of implementation, you will not be there to implement it. You will not be there. So you sign it off. By the time you sign it off, you now watch and you look up to God, because it goes there, sometimes to the minister, sometimes to the MD, sometimes to banks, sometimes to CBNs, this, that, so many things. Then sometimes you could even have vested interests. And you are up there thinking that everything is going the way it is going, meanwhile things are stopped. So it's quite tough. So I believe that he eventually will get this right.
But that's the question, eventually when?
Well, I don't know. We've had this conversation. We've just spoken. I have just spoken with you that the subsidy, it's a matter of choice now, because it's in the middle of it. The only thing that I said is that the idea that a lot of people are saying, oh, as if they weren't pro-subsidy, I completely disagree with that. Many presidential candidates were pro-subsidy. So I have just used an analogy to you that, look, it's now a matter of choice. He has decided to go the hard way, to go from the start to finish, and that does it. For another person, he might decide to backtrack. So either way, the backtracking may not be solving the problem. But as you said, proceeding, there has to be timelines for every activity.
And I know it's interesting to see you, a member of the New Nigeria People's Party, speaking passionately about the administration's policies, plans and programs, and explaining it with so much understanding. Prior to the 2023 presidential election, yes, we know you left the APC, moved to the New Nigeria People's Party, but everyone thought that at some point there will be that convergence when the NNPP and the APC will work together, because we didn't even see the two parties quarrel like the PDP and the APC, or the PDP, APC and the Labour Party. So it was like a smooth relationship, but that didn't work out.
Yeah, well, the only thing I'm going to say here is that Kwankwaso, NNPP, and of course the president, they've had a lengthy relationship, close to about 40 years, very good friends, and they hold each other in high esteem. I know that, and of course there has been talk about coming together to work in the interest of the country. We never know what will happen. The position of the NNPP until date is that our doors are open for either the APC or the PDP or the Labour Party, any party. But again, attempts were made when the president won election to be able to bring us together. But I think the stumbling block has always been people with vested interests, which is understandable. You will have people who believe, okay, if Kwankwaso comes in together with Aswaju, I won't be able to get the governorship ticket in Kano, or I won't be able to get this, or I won't be able to get, or will be displaced and the rest. So I think a couple of such fears actually make people, by the time we work towards achieving that coming together, some people go behind to bring it down. But conversation is still on. I believe that APC needs to also expand its base. NNPP also knows and understands that they will need to form an alliance to be formidable. So we've left our door very, very open. But what I can tell you is that despite the opposition, of course, Kwankwaso will continue to do his opposition. The president will continue to remain in his APC, but they hold each other in high esteem, and our doors are open.
When you say your doors are open and there's a possibility of an alliance, that means that might suggest that Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso may not be on the ballot again in 2027.
Well, I don't know about that. What I know very well is that the doors of the NNPP, it's quite open for anybody who wants to work with us, including the APC.
But some people have also said that for the NNPP, their influence or region of influence is only in Kano State, and even in that state, it appears it's been threatened. We know you won, and the party won the election in 2023, but it has struggled to maintain that dominance.
In Kano, for your information, is not only the votes that we churn out in Kano, while in some northern state governors win election with 300 or 400 votes, Kano were pulling sometimes 2 million votes. So Kano is equivalent to 6, 7, 8 states. So Kano is not only, Kano is a melting point of northern politics, and Kano can swing the entire north. And I tell you this, Kwankwaso stands today as the most popular politician from northern Nigeria with the most sophisticated political structure. I tell you this, not because I'm on TV. That's the fact. And anybody who is telling you, oh, they can be able to displace NNPP in Kano and the rest, it's all a blunted lie. With time, you are going to see that. But again, I want to take the liberal approach, and I am telling you this, that's the position of the NNPP. Our doors are quite open. So whether the APC, whether the PDP, whether the Labour Party, I will not tell you my preference. I have my preference. But again,
well, will it be like in 2023, you worked well, your party had a presidential candidate, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, and it was difficult to even tell where you stood at that time, whether in the NPP or the NNPP. It was difficult to tell.
It wasn't. Of course, I was in the president's campaign team, and we fell out with Ganduji, and I felt very strongly about it at then, and we went, and I think accidentally the president became a beneficiary of the vote that we had in Kano. But the idea wasn't to give him the vote. We scored it, and it became like a minus to the vote that Atiku actually got. So it was a coincidence. I worked for NNPP, but again, I've always maintained my relationship with the president till date.
Some people are talking of what appears to be an increasing frosty relationship now within the NNPP, particularly between Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso and the governor of Kano State.
Well, the perception can always be created, and yes, a lot of you heard a lot of things in the media and the rest, but we remain one house. If not for age, you will say the governor is Kwankwaso's son. He brought him up. He was his personal assistant. He made him commissioner for 2 years, principal private secretary, then commissioner for 2 years, and that was it. And because of a situation where you have a case of perpetual betrayal, he decided that it is important to have somebody who is very loyal to be able to implement the long-term blueprint that we have for Kano.
When you say loyal, in what sense?
No. Loyalty in the sense that's why I said I connected it to the long-term blueprint, not loyalty to Kwankwaso, because we have our blueprint founded on education, on healthcare, on infrastructural development, on rural development, on scholarship for education, free antenatal, empowerment, establishment of all the necessary institutes that are supposed to build our people, expanding our economy, our revenue base, and making Kano look like an autonomous entity that can survive without federal revenue. Now, the problem we keep having is that once you have a new governor, you have an issue, you can also relate it with like the situation in Lagos, precisely. That is what has helped Lagos is the ability for you to have a firm political economy where the politics was able to be managed in such a way that you have sustainable development. So you don't have a situation where this one comes and throw away this, and as soon as you see somebody trying to push away the blueprint that has built Lagos from where it is to where it came to where it is now, he's pushed out of the system. So I think people will continue to speculate, but I definitely know that the governor will not part with, and there's no problem. It's a relationship of a father and a son.
Well, finally, the tax reform bills, back to it again. The ball is in the court of the National Assembly. Do you think this bill will survive? Will the National Assembly save President Bola Tinubu's tax reform bills?
Well, I've never...
Are you confident?
I have never had any doubt about the bill being passed. All that we've been having conversation about is for the contentious clauses. We're going to sit and have conversation during the course of the processes that the bill is going to pass, and we believe that we'll pass a bill that every Nigerian and every state and region will believe that it's a bill that is fair to everyone. But also understand, we have a monster waiting for us, the court case.
Well, a good place to leave it on the program today. Honorable Abdulmumin Jibrin, federal lawmaker from Kano State, talking about President Bola Tinubu's tax reform bills, which is pushing against the odds. And that's it on the program today. Thank you for watching. You can see this episode again on TVC News YouTube channel. My name is Femi Akonde. See you next time.
Information is power. Information is security. Information is